Hello and welcome to this tutorial to Padlet. This video aims to be just a slight introduction to Padlet so we can cover the basics so you can understand how to use the program, what it is, and ultimately how to share these out as well. Before we get into this today, I've also chaptered the entirety of this video, so if you want to skip through to a certain part, you can see that on the YouTube play bar. So, what is Padlet? Think of Padlet as a virtual interactive post-it wall where you can post topics or discussions just like you would with post-it notes. So it's a really quick way to either A, collate information, B, share this information out with people, but it can also be a very nice visual mood board as well. We can also do very cool things like also creating maps with different pins on to showcase an environment. So we can do all those things within Padlet. To get started on Padlet, we're going to go to padlet.com and in the top right we'll select login. Selecting login, from here, instead of selecting any of these options, we're going to select backpack or briefcase user and select login. From here we'll need an organisation. If you are a Staffordshire University student or staff member, simply type in staffs and then press continue. From here you might be greeted to sign in with your SSO, which is your username and password. When you've signed into Padlet, the first thing you'll be greeted with is the home page to Padlet, where it will show you all of the Padlets that you have recently accessed, but you'll also be able to see any Padlets that have been shared with you as well. On the left-hand side, this is split into 3 columns. So we have recents, which shows me all of the recently accessed boards. I have all Padlets, so that shows me all the Padlets that have been shared with me, but I'll also have trashed, which is Padlets that I've recently deleted. To get started with creating a Padlet, simply navigate to the top where you see plus make and we'll select that, which then brings us into the creation Padlet page. From here we are given different templates that we can use, so we can use discussion boards, timelines, rubrics and all of this. However, I'd recommend for a first time use of Padlet, simply have a play around with it, so I'm going to select the blank board for Padlet today. So we'll select that and from here we are given another list of options that we can use on Padlet. Just on the right, you'll see the format and also sections. The formats change how the Padlets sit on the screen. So a wall acts very much like Pinterest, so you have different posts all scattered about, and grid works very similar to that. Stream will act like a social media such as Instagram, Twitter or Facebook. It will display all of that horizontally. Timeline then displays that vertically. However, you can also add a timeline on, so you can have a timeline of events. Canvas is a more freestyle approach to the wall and grid, so you can add arrows on to connect posts, sort of like a mind map, and the map is then an image that you can add on. So for an example, you can add a globe on or you can add a continent on, create different pins to different areas, and then have Padlets pop up based on that. For me today, I'll select wall, however you can come into the options and change all of these later. You'll also want to set a title. Now today I'm going to be very creative and I'm going to make my Padlet board around cats. So I'm going to type in cats for a title. Then when I've done that, I'm going to select done in the bottom right. And from here we have our Padlet wall. Now my Padlet is created with a nice blue background and I quite like it. However, Padlet can give you some very dreadful backgrounds. So my advice first thing would be to change the background if it's something that you don't like. It could be hard to see or it could just give you a horrible pattern. So to do this, navigate on the right hand side and you'll see a cog, which gives us some settings that we can change for our Padlet. So we'll open this up and you'll be greeted first of all with a heading. So this is where our title sits, but we can also add a description. So I was typing here, this is a Padlet full of cats. And I can give this an icon. So now we have a nice title and description to what my Padlet is. But you'll see there is an appearance tab in here as well. So this changes everything that will be displayed on the wall. So you have 4 font types to choose from. You'll also have a colour scheme to choose and also post size. We're going to be changing the wallpaper just very quickly, but if you select this, you do see there is a predetermined amount of wallpapers you can select, which comes default as Padlet. So we can change the colour to a colour that we like. We can also have a gradient, textures or patterns. We can also see photos that have also been predetermined by Padlet as well. However, you can add your own images too. So if we select custom, from here we can upload an image. We can also take a photo and upload this as a background. If we wanted to, we could also draw. We can also link out, and we can also search for an image too. I like my wallpaper as is, so I'm going to leave this. However, if you were to change the wallpaper, you would simply select one and then press save in the top right. While we're in the settings, we're also just going to look through the other different settings that you have access to. So, going back to the Padlet type, we can change the format that we want the post displayed in. So if we wanted to change this to a map, we can select this drop down and change that to the map type Padlet. You can also do this for the other 6 options too. You can also do this for the other 5 options. Scrolling down, you'll also be able to sort by. So when you place a Padlet, you'll be able to move that Padlet around. So make sure that you select the type of Padlet sort by selection method that you want. And the next one is also engagements. So if you are sharing this out, or maybe you want to update this in the future, if you enable comments, it allows people to then respond to the Padlet you've posted on the wall. And if you are sharing this out, if you wanted a gauge of reaction, you can also enable likes, votes, stars, and score. I'm going to enable the votes, simply select one, hit save in the top right, and then that will have reactions on. If you want to see who's posted to your Padlet, you can also enable author and timestamps. And additionally, if you want a little bit more control of who's posted onto this Padlet, you can set moderation, which means any Padlets that are uploaded have to then be approved by the Padlet creator or moderator. Additionally, we can also set a custom URL. So if we wanted to change how our Padlet is displayed and how people can access this later, we simply come in and change that URL and type in a custom domain. It will use staffs.padlet.org/your username, then it will have the custom URL in after that. So they're the quick settings that we're going to look at, but let's actually look at how we can populate an area. In the bottom right, you'll see either a circle or a circle with a plus in, and this is how we create posts on that Padlet wall. So to do this, we're going to hover over, and it changes to a pencil icon. And selecting this pops up a little section in the bottom right, so we can type in various objects. So the subject is sort of a title for that post-it note or the Padlet. So we're going to type in cats, and then we can add a quick description into that post as well. When we've typed that Padlet in, we can hit publish, and that will post straight to the wall. Underneath here, you can see the reactions we've enabled, so we can add a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And users who have access to this Padlet will also be able to add comments in as well. If we go back to creating a different Padlet or a post, we can come in and add more subjects. I'm going to make a Padlet full of images of cats. So I'll type in images of cats, and from here we'll press the 12 section. And this shows us the attachment types that we can add to a post. So you have lots of different things you can do. I'll quickly run through these. If you press Padlet, it will post another Padlet to that wall, so you can add multiple interactions between different Padlets. We can also upload images and documents from the upload section. Same with linking, we can then add a link to a Padlet and that will then display. Camera will use your device's camera, so if I have a webcam, I can take a quick photo. If I'm using Padlet on a phone, it will use my phone's camera to take a photo. Same with the video recorder, it will use your webcam to record a video. Audio recorder will use the microphone that's on your device. Screen recorder will then enable a very basic recording for the screen, so if you want to capture something really quickly and post it onto Padlet, you can use that. Drawing acts as a sketch pad, so you can quickly draw something. It does work with things like tablets, so you've got a drawing tablet, you can connect that up and draw onto. You can also do quick polls, you can also AI generate images. The image search will then use a web search feature to then search for an image if you're looking for that. GIFs work the exact same. YouTube, you can copy and paste or search for a YouTube video, which will then display on Padlet. Spotify, you can share a Spotify link to a song or a podcast and post that to your Padlet. Web search allows you to search the web for an article, and then location allows you to pin a location. So what we want to do is we want to find an image of a cat. So we're going to go to image search, type in cat, and then hit enter. And from here, you'll see we get different images of cats. The more description I add into that box, the more searches or the refined searches I get for that. I like this image of a cat, so I'll select that. That then processes and we'll add that on to a Padlet, and I can publish that, and that goes onto the wall then. If I was then to respond to this thread because I wanted to add a GIF of a cat on or another image, I simply select in here. You'll see there's a plus that pops up to add an attachment. I select that and I get a very reduced version of what I've just seen, just because I'm adding a comment and not starting from scratch. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to look for a GIF of a cat instead. And I found a GIF, selected that, hit enter, and then that adds as a comment. And I can keep going and adding different things as well. So let's say I wanted to do a very bad drawing, because I can't draw, of a cat. I'm going to select the draw, and then I can come in and draw a very quick cat. As you can see, very bad cat, but I did very quickly and on a mouse. So you'll have to forgive me, but as you can see, I can do my drawing of a cat. Post that to the wall, and we have that image that will be retained there on that Padlet. You can also do something very similar, so you can use I can't draw, which gives you an AI generated version. So I'll type in cat, it will just generate me a cat, and the more information I add, the more stylized image I can have. And I'm just going to choose this one, and then I can upload that to the Padlet wall as well. Similarly, I can also search the internet, so I'm going to web search for cats. And this will then bring up a Wikipedia article, and I can select that and add that to that Padlet then. And I'll give it a quick title, Wiki page for cats. Add that on. And the very last thing that I want to do then is actually add a YouTube video of some cats, because why wouldn't I? So what I've done here is I have a YouTube video of some cats. I'm going to select YouTube. As you can see, I can search the web page, so I can type in cats into this and it will show me. I do have a URL, so I'm going to copy and paste that over, hit enter. That then pops up. I'm going to type in kittens and publish that article from there. So as you can see, we've already started a quick wall of Padlet for cats. So if you were using this in however you want to use this, you can use this as a resource bank, so you can add all of your sources onto here. Maybe you're doing some research and this is a very quick way to throw things on. Maybe you're doing a collaborative activity where you want a board of ideas or a mood board, so you can do things like that on here as well. Let's say I wanted to move some of these around, so I actually want my drawing of a cat to be moved way to the far right. Depending on the options we've selected in the settings and selected the sort by, we have drag and drop on, so it's just a case of selecting the post and then left clicking and moving that. And we can move these posts and reorder them to our heart's content from here. If you are wanting to share this collaboratively, we will have to change some of the settings, but it's very easy to do. In the top right, you'll see there is an arrow pointing to the right. We've got to select this, which is a share panel. And from here, we get a new list of options. The first thing you want to do is change the collaborators. And from here, you'll be able to select a role that you want users who you share this to access. So you can just give them reading permission, which will then, as it states, just allow them to read. They can't edit the Padlet, they can't add comments, but they can read what there is, and they can also thumbs up. You can add a commenter, so that allows them to add comments to posts. So maybe you don't want the topics to change, you just want people to interact with the articles. You can do that from here. If you're wanting people to create new posts, you can give them the writer role. And if you're wanting moderators, you can create a moderator role, send that URL out, and then change the settings from here. I want people to comment on here, so I'm going to select the commenter role, and I can come in and also change the link privacy as well. So do I want this public, or do I just want this shared between people I share it to? Generally, you'll want to keep this shared to people that you've sent it to. So if you come in, by default, it's selected to secret. You'll probably want to keep it on secret, so if you send out that URL, it's only with those people. From here, you can add collaborators, so if you're wanting people to moderate, you can type in their username or send them an email. They'll receive that email and they can come in and join this board from there. And then actually to send out the links to have people to upload or comment, what you can do is either A, copy this to a clipboard, which will give us a URL. So if I press this and then paste this somewhere, they'll have access to that. But I'll also be able to get a QR code. So if I'm wanting people to quickly access this, I can go to the share, get QR, and this will then generate me a QR that I can download. I can post that somewhere, whether that be on a social media, whether that be on a PowerPoint or a Teams, and people can scan that in alongside the QR code. Additionally, if I'm wanting to save this Padlet and take it anywhere, I can export this as either a PDF or an image by simply selecting one of these two settings, and from there it's a very quick way just to export that. And that really is Padlet. Now, you can use this in multiple ways, and I really encourage you to experiment. The different Padlet types all do their different things. However, they all work very similar to this. So once you understand the basics, you can move over and have a play with those different types of Padlets too. Padlet also has a range of tutorials, so if you're wanting to learn how to use the map in more detail, you can go over to the Padlet website and they've got all the tutorials from there. If you are a Staffordshire University member, you'll also be able to access our SharePoint, which also retains these links as well. So if you're wanting to quickly experiment and practice with something, you can head over there and watch a quick video.